I wonder if that's going to be seamless for you watching it. Hello everyone, I should be live now. Hope you enjoyed the old Brazil-Serbia game there. Definitely a fan of Richarlison's second goal. Live to talk about Matchday 1 of the World Cup in FanTeam. I'll go through all of the results, preview Matchday 2 as well, so I've got the fixtures to look through. I've got some clean sheet odds, goal scoring odds, and then I'll show you how I've gotten on. Just trying to give you basically all the information you need to get yourself ready for match day 2. It's a very quick turnaround, obviously, with it starting tomorrow. So we've only got less than 12 hours to finalise our teams, etc. Probably picked a bit too late in the day to go live, really, but hopefully I can help you guys that are live in the stream. If you're here, feel free to say hello in the chat. Leave me a comment how you got on this week, who your captain was, etc., etc., and what sort of rank you are, and we'll get on with stuff. Thought I'd start the video just by going through the results. I've got to remember that this is FanTeam because I pulled this from the Sky Fantasy Football game because the score graphic is just a little bit better in that one. So obviously started off on Sunday, which feels like forever ago now, doesn't it? Qatar obviously losing 2-0 to Ecuador. I don't think I've learned really that any of these players in these teams are decent picks, but I definitely think we've learned that Qatar are the whipping boys of the competition. It didn't even look like, in my opinion, they didn't even look like a professional football team. So yeah, I think they got Senegal next. But when the Netherlands eventually play Qatar, I think, as long as they're not all the way through, I think that could be a game where we could look to load up on the Netherlands, even more so than we might already be. Obviously, we started Monday with a great result. England beating Iran 6-2. Obviously, us English lot were very happy with that. I think England played really well. Up there with Spain, France, and Brazil as the 4 best playing teams, I think, for this match day. So, yeah, really good to see. Obviously conceded 2 goals to Iran. I would say the one goal that Taremi, I think that's his name, isn't it? He looked really good, by the way. I would definitely consider him as an option in FanTeam, just because he proved against England that he only needs a little sniff to score a goal. And obviously he's on the penalties. But yeah, his first goal, from my opinion, wasn't even really a chance. I think he was fully being marked up by John Stones, and he just managed to sneak the ball into the net. And then obviously the second goal was a dubious penalty. England did look a bit ropey towards the end in defence, but I think that was more the nature of the game than England themselves actually being challenged. I just think the fact that they were 6 goals up, it sort of changed the way that they played. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on against the USA. I'm really looking forward to that game. Be watching it around a mate's house tomorrow night. Then we had Senegal, Netherlands, finished 2-0 to Holland. I don't think either team were particularly that exciting. I just think the level of quality that the Netherlands had saw them through the game. It didn't look too bad defensively. I would say I'd anticipate that they don't play De Ligt in the next game, and I would imagine that Bergwijn gets benched for Depay. But yeah, I'm very happy. I've got double Netherlands defence in my FanTeam, so I was really happy that they got a clean sheet, as I'm sure quite a few FanTeam players also have. USA and Wales, obviously Bale scoring his penalty. I imagine a few probably have Gareth Bale, just on the basis that he seems to do really quite well at international tournaments. He got you a goal from a penalty, which was really nice. I thought USA looked decent. Both the teams were sort of playing at a similar level, really. Obviously, the United States had the better share of the first half, and then Wales came back into the game in the second. I don't think I've seen enough to pick a player from either of these teams. Maybe Gareth Bale with Iran coming up. It could be a good pick, but I think I'll just be steering clear of the USA and Wales, really. Obviously, on Tuesday, started with a big upset. Argentina against Saudi Arabia. Personally, I think Argentina probably needed a loss like that to give them a kick up the arse, to be honest. I think they went on the second longest international unbeaten run in history. So they hadn't really been fully challenged like they were against Saudi Arabia, and I think they sort of tried to cruise the game a little bit, but yeah, Saudi Arabia went for the jugular and played really well. Their second goal was absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I'd be picking assets from Saudi Arabia, and I also don't think I'd be selling my Argentina players. I've just got a feeling that this loss will give them the kick up the arse they need to just go on and win the whole thing. I think when Spain won their World Cup, they also lost their opener as well. And everyone was saying, "Oh, Spain rubbish, losing their opener," and then they went on to win the tournament. So I think that could well happen with Argentina too. I definitely won't be selling my Argentina assets. Then we had Denmark 0, Tunisia 0. I thought Tunisia made a good account of themselves in that game, and Denmark obviously defended pretty resolutely. I think those of you with like the likes of Mela will be quite happy, just banking the clean sheet there. I know we didn't get any attacking returns, which most of us will all have them in our teams for. I'm saying that like I'm an owner, but I'm actually not. But I think you'll take the clean sheet from that one. Mexico 0, Poland 0. Ochoa, the World Cup hero for Mexico, came up with the goods again and saved a Lewandowski penalty. I think that's unlucky as a Lewandowski owner. I think you're probably licking your lips at the thought of him taking a penalty. And if you were an Ochoa owner, you were probably praying for a penalty save, which is exactly what you got. So fair play if you've got Ochoa. But I don't think there was much else to talk about there in that game. Obviously, I think a few probably have Szczesny and Cash in their teams as well. Value pick in defence, and yeah, first clean sheet bagged for them. Then obviously France and Australia. We started that game with Australia nicking a goal. Thought they'd go on and upset France, but obviously France grew into the game. Mbappe just looked ridiculous. Giroud as well, obviously levelling Thierry Henry's record for France. He's in my team. I've got Giroud. I don't have Mbappe, but he just looked like a cheat code against the France right back. Every time he wanted to take him on, he just had him on toast. It's just obviously just a genetic freak when it comes to his speed. No clean sheet for France, but I'm not actually sure how well owned their defence is in FanTeam. Actually, we can have a look at that when I go through my team. But yeah, no clean sheet for either side there. And obviously points for Mbappe, Giroud, and Rabiot, I think, came away with the goals, didn't they? And then on Wednesday the 23rd, pretty dull 0-0 draw between Morocco and Croatia. I've actually got the Croatian keeper in my fan team, so I was quite happy for them to get that clean sheet. And also from my perspective, whilst they didn't look too clever going forward, I thought Croatia didn't look too bad defensively. And certainly their first two fixtures, I think you can bank for, well, hopefully get a clean sheet in the next one as well. So yeah, that's all I really cared for Croatia, was them keeping a clean sheet. So I was happy that they did that. And obviously the second sort of upset of the tournament in Japan beating Germany. I really had a lot of hope for Germany this tournament. They weren't really being bigged up too much, and I thought that would play into their favour, but Japan just absolutely did them with pure energy and legs, and they just had so much desire. And yeah, I think they were just too much for Germany. Obviously, Germany missing, I think, a key position as a centre forward. They just don't have that Miroslav Klose that they did in previous tournaments. And also, I think they're a bit weaker at fullback as well. Yeah, they're just not playing someone whose position is fullback. I think they're repurposing centre-backs in those positions, which is fine. But I do think someone like Kimmich could well move into a full-back position, because I think he did that for Bayern before he became a midfielder. So I do think he could move into a full-back position, and then someone else moving into that DM spot. Obviously, Gundo scored his penalty. Japan didn't look too bad. I certainly don't think they're a team to target as a weak opposition. I think they could give pretty much any team in that group a game, likes of Spain, and they could do well against Spain as well, I think, just with their energy. Yeah, I don't think I'd be going too mad for Japan assets, though, nor for Germany either. I think I'd probably be staying clear from those two teams. And obviously, Spain beating Costa Rica 7-0 was a ridiculously convincing win. Jordi Alba was probably, I don't know, he seemed to do really well out of that game, obviously getting 2 assists and a clean sheet. This is FanTeam, but I had him on the Sky game where he came away with an absolute haul, and obviously did pretty well in FanTeam too, with obviously a clean sheet and a couple of assists. Ferran Torres also got a couple of goals. Morata, I thought, looked quite dangerous as well. I think Spain in general just looked really good. When Luis Enrique put his team out, I was very surprised to see the likes of Rodri at centre-back. It just looked like a complete mess of a team, but it seemed to work really well against Costa Rica. I don't actually know if if he's going to persist with Rodri at centre-back. My one thought as to why he did that was because I think Eric Garcia or Pau Torres, I think they're quite prone to making mistakes. And I think he may have put Rodri in there just to absolutely make sure that he won't make mistakes on the ball. Obviously, he didn't. They won 7-0. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that Spain team looks like against Germany. Whether he'll be brave enough to play Rodri at centre-back against Germany, I'm not sure, but we'll see. And then we had Belgium beating Canada 1-0. Obviously, start of that first half, Alphonso Davies missing a penalty, Courtois with a penalty save and a clean sheet in that game, of course. So he's probably in quite a few people's teams. So fair play if you had him, you'd be licking your lips at the end of that game. But I think at the start of the game, you're probably cacking your pants because Canada were all over them. And I think it's not to be ageist. Obviously, these guys aren't old when it comes to real life terms, but in terms of footballing terms, obviously Vertonghen and Alderweireld are a bit past it now. You could definitely see that their legs were struggling. Canada really tried to stretch the game and use their pace, and it really did work in the first half. And yeah, they should have scored, really, shouldn't they? I think feel lucky as a Belgium defence owner to keep that clean sheet. I just couldn't believe that Den Donker was playing internationally for Belgium over like Wout Faes for Leicester. Is it Faes or Face? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think he's been ridiculously good for Leicester. He seems to be like one of the lead bodies in their sort of renaissance in the last few weeks, and he's not even in the Belgium team, which is surprising. Also seeing Hazard starting as well, he's also just lost about 5 yards of pace from what he did have. I wouldn't be surprised to see Trossard or someone start in the next game, to be honest. But yeah, I'm certainly happy. I banked Castagna, I had in my team. I banked a clean sheet out of him, so I'm happy with that. Switzerland 1, Cameroon 0. I must admit, I didn't really watch this game. I think it was quite boring other than the Switzerland goal. Feel free to comment if something else happened in that game. But yeah, I don't think there's too much to talk about there. Similarly with Uruguay and South Korea, I don't think Son really got in the game too much. Uruguay didn't threaten too much either, really. But they did look pretty resolute defensively. And what's his name? I can't remember his name, but the 5 million keeper for Uruguay was the starting keeper and he kept a clean sheet. So that makes me think that he's probably going to keep that role. And I think a 5 million starting keeper in FanTeam is gold dust. So maybe that's one to think about. And then obviously Portugal beating Ghana 3-2. I thought it was really quite an exciting game. I couldn't believe it at the end where the goalkeeper, that was meme territory, wasn't it, when he rolled the ball out with Inaki Williams behind him. And then unfortunately he slipped up. Did Portugal really look that good that game? I don't know. Like towards the end, obviously, I think Ghana sort of let off a bit and Portugal nicked a couple, but I'm just not convinced Portugal looked that good. Feel free to chime in the chat if you disagree. Obviously, they scored their 3 goals, but they conceded 2. They didn't look amazing defensively. I thought they'd be a lot better considering the names that they have. I thought Cancelo had a pretty poor game. Their keeper looked a bit dodgy. Bruno looked good though, and obviously Ronaldo got his token penalty. Obviously, Ronaldo's always going to be a good option in international fantasy games because he's nailed to start. He'll probably play, well, he won't play 90 minutes because he'll get taken off and rested, I'd imagine, in some. But yeah, and he's on penalties and he's going to hog all the free kicks, so that probably makes him a good option. And I imagine he's quite well owned as well. We'll have a look at the ownership in a second. But yeah, I'd say probably Ronaldo and Bruno, the two sort of outstanding performers in that one. And I'd imagine Cancelo is quite well owned in this game as well. I haven't really checked the ownership stats too much, to be honest, so we'll have a look at that as we go on. And then finally, the game that's just finished. I really enjoyed watching this one, actually. The first half was all about the Serbian defence, and I think after that first goal went in, they got a bit looser, and then obviously Richarlison he's probably scored the goal of the tournament right there. I don't know if you can quite call it a bicycle kick, but it was a ridiculous acrobatic finish that's definitely the goal of the tournament so far. He's looking a really good option, actually. It might well be, because obviously another thing to talk about is Neymar as well. I've got Neymar in my team, and he's 28% owned. I can see that above his head. He came off. I don't know what the state of the injury is, and we obviously don't have long to work out what to do with him. I think from my perspective, I'm just going to leave him in, because obviously you get the safety net if he doesn't play. And I just don't think we have enough time to know if he's going to play the next game or not. So I think I'm probably going to keep him in. But it does leave me thinking I could have Richarlison after that performance. But it's probably worth just sitting on my hands and saving my transfers. But yeah, that's a quick run through of the Matchday 1 results and my thoughts. Hopefully that was useful and insightful. Yeah, feel free to chime in the chat. I'll have a quick read of people's comments now. Wing Lamb says hello mate. And then FPL Spartans, thank you for watching. Even though you don't play FanTeam, I appreciate you attending the stream. That's great. Thank you very much, mate. And I hope you've enjoyed your week of football as well. Yeah, it's just been nice to just be able to turn on the telly at any point and there be a football game on. And then obviously up next was just the fixtures for Matchday 2. So starting things off, we've got Wales and Iran. Obviously the outstanding guy from that one's probably Gareth Bale. And obviously Taremi from Iran as well. I think Taremi could probably score in that game, as could Gareth Bale. So yeah, those are probably the two I'd pick from there. Didn't really see much from Qatar and Senegal to warrant picking anyone. Obviously, Enner Valencia had his brace. He looked pretty bright, but I think he got injured. Not entirely sure on his fitness status. Oh, sorry, that's the Ecuador game. What am I saying? So yeah, nothing really from Qatar and Netherlands. And then obviously I started talking about Enner Valencia there. But obviously he's against the Netherlands. I think they look pretty resolute defensively. I think Timber may come in for De Ligt. That's probably one change I'd make if I was the manager, if I was Van Gaal. And then I'd probably start Depay over Bergwijn as well. So if you had Bergwijn, I know you get the safety net, but I'd probably consider selling him just because I thought he looked rubbish. He really didn't have a sniff all game. I remember going into the match day that everyone was saying, oh, Bergwijn's got a good record for the Netherlands and playing up front, etc. But he just didn't look that good. So I think I'll be avoiding him. Ecuador, I already mentioned Valencia. They look pretty good defensively, but that was against Qatar. I think obviously the Netherlands are going to give them more of a challenge. I imagine the top players in the FanTeam ranks at the moment have probably got some Ecuadorian defenders. Fair play. I'm not sure they'll keep a clean sheet in that one though. But I think just the fact they did one against Qatar, I think you probably take your points and run. And obviously England, USA, quite a few probably had Bellingham actually for his value at 6.5. Obviously it's star performer against Iran in my opinion. He played really well, got his goal. I think he could equally do something against the States. For me, I'm just on Kane. Be happy with what I can get from him. Obviously likes of... I think Ornstein tweeted that the team is likely to be identical to the last one. So, yeah, it's going to be the same team as last time. So Saka, Sterling, all good options. In fact, it could be like a Neymar to Sterling could be a move. I'll probably stick to Brazil though. But yeah, just thinking aloud. Tunisia, Australia, for me, I'm not really considering any of those in fantasy. We'll get onto the goal scoring odds at the minute, but top of them at the moment is Robert Lewandowski, obviously the opponent being Saudi Arabia, so he could be an option this week. Just going by the betting odds alone, he's top of the list, so it suggests that he's the best captain. Obviously, he got a penalty against... who did they play last week? Mine's gone blank. I'll find him in a second. Penalty against Mexico, which was saved. He could equally get one against the Saudis as well. We'll see. France, Denmark. Denmark obviously pretty good defensively. A few will probably have Giroud or Mbappe. I think it's probably worth keeping them, but I'm not sure their captaincy shouts this week just because Denmark are a step above. Is Mæhle the right wing back for Denmark? Is he going to be up against Mbappe? Because that'll be an interesting one, I think. It just looks like whoever goes against Mbappe, he'll just do whatever he can to isolate them, take them on, and just get a ball into the box for Giroud. And I think that will work 99% of the time for him, to be honest. So, yeah, just one thing to think about. And obviously Argentina, Mexico. Obviously Mexico got the 0-0 draw with Poland, but I think obviously Argentina will be renewed after their loss and really go for the jugular. I think Messi is equally as good a captain this week as he was last week, to be honest. Japan, Costa Rica, I'm not really seeing much there. Belgium, Morocco, I don't think Morocco looked particularly exciting. Ziyech put a few balls in that looked all right, but they didn't threaten too much. So I'd probably stick to my Belgium defenders. Croatia, Canada. Again, I'm not really looking at the Canadian options, but I'd suggest that could be another clean sheet for the Croatians. So I'm happy to have my Croatians in there. Spain and Germany will be interesting. Obviously, both of them had contrasting results in the last one. To be honest, I think that'd be quite a cagey game. Might finish 0-0 or like a 1-0 or something like that. I think it'd be quite cagey. If I owned assets from these teams, would I sell them? If I had a Germany player, I'd consider it. If I had a Spain one, I'd probably keep them just because they look really impressive. But I do think it'd probably be quite a cagey game. Cameroon and Serbia, based on what we've seen today, don't think either side look particularly dangerous from an attacking perspective. So probably going to be a 0-0. Korea and Ghana, similar. Obviously, Ghana scored a couple against Portugal, so to be honest, I think they could probably beat Korea. Son just couldn't get into the game today, so yeah, I'd probably back Ghana to win that. But from those four teams, I don't think I'd really be picking any of their players. Brazil and Switzerland. I'd probably back Brazil to win this one, even though Switzerland are pretty good defensively. I don't think I'd be captaining from Brazil, but I'd probably bank on Brazil doing all right in that game as well. I think we just saw towards the end of that Serbia game, they started to kick into gear, and I think that will give them sort of momentum to go into that Switzerland game. The one thing to note with Brazil, as well as the Neymar injury, I think more crucial to them actually was Danilo at the end of the game. It looked like he pulled his calf and he couldn't walk. So that means it's either Dani Alves at right back or they're going to have to repurpose someone else. Maybe Eder Militao can play there, who knows. But it's just one thing to consider. I think that significantly weakens that Brazil team not having a right back. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then Portugal, Uruguay. Uruguay didn't look too threatening, so that could be a clean sheet for Portugal. But likewise, Uruguay looked pretty damn solid defensively, so they could well keep a clean sheet against Portugal as well. I could quite easily see that being a cagey 0-0 as well, to be honest. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the fixtures. There's a question from Andy. How are you getting on in Sky Sports? Have I got a plan for Matchday 2? I'll quickly, I'm actually going to do a proper Sky stream with my friend Sam at, I think we're doing it at 4 o'clock tomorrow. So tune in for that if you're interested. But in Sky, I've got 131 points and I'm 947th overall. And I put that down to really having Jordi Alba as my captain yesterday for his 2 assists, passing bonus and clean sheet. So yeah, Jordi Alba as my captain, if you can see that. Just in terms of clean sheet odds and attacking returns, so I've nicked an FPL Salah tweet just for a quick reference, and I think I've put a link in the description to the source of all these stats as well, which is really useful. You get, I think it's a Substack page. I don't really know much about Substack, but it's a really useful page that tells you every match day of the World Cup, the clean sheet odds and goal scoring percentages. So top of the list is Argentina, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not really interested in selling those defenders. Brazil, Belgium, England, Serbia, France, Poland, and so on. I'm quite surprised to see Netherlands that far down the list, actually, considering how they played. And they got Ecuador, who I think they could probably keep a clean sheet against. I know Ecuador looked good, but they played Qatar, who were terrible, so yeah, I'd probably put Netherlands a bit higher. And probably Croatia too, actually. I think they didn't look too threatening going forwards, but defensively I think they were all right. And then your top scorer in terms of bookies odds is Robert Lewandowski. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I know he's got Saudi Arabia, who before the start of the tournament, I think they're one of the lowest ranked teams, which is why he's so high. Obviously, they've just beaten Argentina, so who knows? I mean, sometimes you can come out of like the biggest win in your country's history and then just flop because you've been spending the whole time celebrating, or you can come out on an absolute roll and go again. Just don't know what you're going to get with Saudi next time round. I don't think I'm brave enough to captain Lewandowski. And to be completely honest, I think I might be a bit boring and just go for Messi again, or equally Harry Kane, because we know he's fit. Likewise, Mbappe, I think he's decent as well. I know Denmark are obviously a step above Australia, but we know Mbappe, he can score against anyone, right? I wouldn't touch Neymar, I don't think. I think really it's between Kane, Messi and Mbappe for my captaincy. I think whilst Lewandowski's up there with the odds, I just don't think I've got the bottle to captain him. And it would also involve using a transfer. I'm not entirely sure I'm too comfortable doing that. Palais, hey, do you know if you can play all the premiums from the first day, sell them, buy the premiums? No, unfortunately, you get one deadline per game week in FanTeam. You can bank up all your transfers to use the week before the wild card, which I'm planning to do. So I'm going to roll my transfers for game week 1 and use them in game week 3. So that's my plan there. But you can't unfortunately make daily transfers in FanTeam unless you're asking about the Sky game, because I do of course make videos for Sky. So if you want to let me know which game you're talking about, I can probably answer your question a bit better. And feel free to ask any other questions in the chat, FanTeam related as well. I'm here for you. And then just finally, before I go into some Twitter questions, here's how I got on in the week. I'd say it's pretty damn average, to be honest. Quite a few clean sheets, got 4 out of, 4 out of 6 clean sheets from my defence, so I'll take that. I didn't go brave and have any blocks because I've only got one team in the whole game, so I thought I'd spread things out a little bit and reduce the risk. I saw that Holland had the best group, so I went for a couple of them. I thought Croatia had a first good couple of fixtures to start with, so I went for their keeper. Argentina, I just backed them because they're Argentina, and I went for Otamendi because I thought he had a bit of goal threat off the set pieces. I think pretty much everyone in the game will probably have a bit of Argentina in defence, so I'm not too upset with that. Castagna obviously coming away with a cleano. Trippier letting me down for England, but he's one of the highest owned players in the game, so I don't really mind him getting a 1-pointer. Doesn't hurt me too much. Obviously, Messi delivered as my captain. I could have done better if I had Giroud or Mbappe, but the difference is minuscule, really. It's a few points. So I'm not too mad about that. Valverde, whilst he didn't really get any attacking returns, he played 90 minutes and got a clean sheet, which in FanTeam's worth 4 points, almost as much as a defender getting a clean sheet. Neymar, obviously disappointing, and he came off injured. Tough one as to what I do with him. Do you take him out? Do you leave him in? Just rely on the safety net? I don't know. I don't think we're going to hear any news about his injury because the deadline's at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so I don't think we're gonna learn much. And then Kane and Giroud, happy with them. Obviously, Kane getting his two assists and then coming off injured, but he's fit to play the USA, so I'm happy with that. And then as soon as I heard that Benzema was out, I just thought Giroud was nailed to play. Whether he'll play the third group game if France are through or he'll be rested, I think remains to be seen. But really happy with how he did. He's always just really good for France. I think when you have this might be a controversial thing to say, because obviously I know Benzema has just won the Ballon d'Or. But I think having a hold-up player like Giroud who can get on the end of crosses like he can, I think it's almost better for that France team than having Benzema in there, especially when they got flying wingers like Dembele and Mbappe either side of him. I think that setup almost works better for them. But yeah, regardless, when I knew that Benzema was injured, obviously Giroud is just a shoe-in, and he did really well, and I'm happy to have him in my team. And if I didn't, I might even consider buying him, to be honest, just because the fact he plays for France and he's up front and he's so cheap. But yeah, that's it for my team. Plans for game week 2? I don't think I have any. Looking at my team, Croatia, Canada, I think I can keep a cleano in that one. Obviously the Netherlands and Ecuador, I think there's a clean sheet in there too. England, USA, I think there's a clean sheet in there. Trippier's definitely going to play by the sounds of it. Castagna against Morocco, again, I think that could be a clean sheet. Same for Otamendi against Mexico, I'm happy with that. Messi is probably going to be my captain, I think. And I'm going to have Kane as my vice. Let's get back down. Valverde is just going to stay in. I'm happy to have him against any team. Neymar is the only one I'd consider getting rid of this week. Just who to? Obviously, his safety net is Vinicius, so I think that's a perfectly decent option to have, especially if I'm not captaining him. So I think I'm just going to leave Neymar in, and it'll be Vinicius if he doesn't play. And then we re-evaluate game week 3 when I actually want to use my transfers as to who I bring in, because I could swap him out for Mbappe. I obviously could do that now, I think. So have a look if I can do that move. Yeah, I can. He's 13 million, isn't he? I think I could do that if I wanted to. I think I'm going to leave it, though. I don't want to do that. Bear with, I've just broken the game. Yeah, that's the only thing to think about. Do I want to do Neymar based on what I saw of him and the fact he might be injured to Mbappe? I think that's the only thing to consider. But other than that, I think I'm going to leave my team as it is. I'm not planning to make any transfers. And I think that alone should propel me up the leaderboard a little bit as well, because I'm 4,800th out of 23k. Obviously, sort of in the top, 20%. To be honest, after one game week, it doesn't really mean too much, so I'll take that. And I think I'll take my 2 transfers right into the bank and use them in game week 3. What I thought I'd do just to close things off and complete the video for those watching back and those on stream, it was just to have a look at any Twitter questions we got. Bear with, I've got a few notifications to trawl through to find my original tweet. Feel free, if you're in the chat, by the way, say hello, ask any questions. No pressure to, though, if you just want to chat. Okay, FPL Prem Tipster, Matchday 2 punts versus rolling transfers. I think for me, I'm not going to take any punts, and I'm just going to roll transfers. Punts for Matchday 2, I think number 1 punt, by the looks of it, is Robert Lewandowski. He's top of the scoring sheets in terms of bookies odds. He's obviously the main man for Poland on the penalties. Don't think Poland looked too bad against Mexico. I think Robert Lewandowski is probably the punt for Matchday 2. Benny Hero Foster, if Kane is fit, who would you pick out of him or Mbappe? I think I'd probably edge to Kane, because I think the USA aren't as good defensively as Denmark is. I think Kane will probably have more luck than Mbappe. Just Kane. Just on fixture alone. I had a little group chat as well where people may have asked me questions, so I'm just going to have a quick look. Probably won't be anything. Oh yeah, captaincy. Captaincy will be Messi for me, I think. You've just seen that. I think I'll be going Messi again. I've broken my vice captain selection as well. Just go for Kane as my vice. Oh, he is. It's in there. And then the last question I saw was transfer strategy, roll or use them. And I think for me in FanTeam, I will be fully rolling my transfers. Don't think I'm going to be doing anything fancy, because I think there'll be a bit of rotation in 3, and I also think some of the fixtures swing as well. So Croatia have their difficult game, and so do Belgium. Do they play each other? God, my mind's going blank on these fixtures. Yeah, Belgium and Croatia play each other, which I think both teams could score in. So maybe that's the day to take the Croatian keeper and Castagna out. But for me right now, I'm just going to roll. I think I'm pretty happy with my team there. But yeah, that's it from me. I see no one's asked a question in the chat, so I think it's safe to end the stream there. Thank you for watching. If you did, I hope you enjoyed it, found it useful. And yeah, I'll be back probably a more sensible day next week, a couple of days before the deadline, to preview game week or match day 3 of the World Cup. Yeah, good luck for the week. Hopefully you found that useful, and I'll catch you next week. See you later.